we should not just consider BPM AI orchestration just as a platform or as a tool, because I believe it will be like new discipline of BPM. BPM is a discipline, is not tools itself, is not technique, is discipline that we want to establish during this life cycle as BPM.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of the BPM 360 podcast. My name's Caspar, your host, and with me is, as always, and I'm very happy that he is, my good friend Russell. Russell, how are you, mate?
I'm fine. Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
As I said, spring, temperatures are rising, so is my mood, and what else? I've had quite a busy week traveling, and I'm getting involved in actually a series of different pre-phase projects to HANA. So so I think what is quite cool about this is that you talk about change a lot in context of projects, but you always talk about the end user. But fundamentally, what we see is now that, first of all, the change is around the teams, because we had a lot of key users that would say, where are the transactions? And in the documentation. Yeah. And so the whole approach with cloud is changing. So everybody has to adopt also, but there is also a big, strong drive for process management. So here it's really exciting because, as I said, the dynamics of really doing a process-centric approach is growing, but also reflecting on how do we used to work and how should we work in future to be ready, future-proof. That's something that I'm heavily involved in, and I think it's a super exciting topic, which is impacting a lot of teams. I'm not saying companies alone, but it's the project teams themselves that are going through this process.
Interesting. Yeah. And so it's good to have you on the show. We have a guest, by the way,
yes,
who we will get to in like one and a half minutes. So it is Friday afternoon. You're right. I'm in a happy mood because of that. I'm in a sad mood because my microphone broke down this morning. So I need to record this with my AirPods, which is fine. I trust that the Riverside platform will correct that with its magic audio feature. One small remark, as some of your listeners might know, later on this year, there will be a all about process management conference in Stuttgart. And Russell, you and me, we're going to be there as one of the social media podcasting crews that will run around the conference, annoying people with questions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we will post in the show notes a discount code. If you want to buy tickets to the All About Process Management podcast, please feel free to actually use our discount code. Having said that, let's go to our guest, Russell. Today with us, Ahmad Daliri. Ahmad, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you. Great. I'm great, actually. It's happy Friday, as you mentioned, now in the afternoon. Looking forward to the weekend, like always. From Monday, we are looking forward to weekend. Now is almost there. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. And by the way, you are working in the Netherlands. So next week, Monday, you probably have a day off, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So will I. And this is very rare because normally the Germans have more days off than we do. So Russell, you can stick this one. But we have a king actually still in this country, and it's his birthday next Monday.
I heard that the Dutch do celebrate that quite wildly, or they used to. I don't know. Is that still a tradition?
It is still a tradition, but I think that they're putting some new rules in there to make it slightly more civil. But
what a pity!
Well, I'm just going to enjoy a day off anyway. But anyway, so Ahmad, just back to you. Could you give our listeners a little bit of a rundown who you are, what you've done in life to get to the point where you are, and how did you end up in BPM?
Yeah, let's start from when I started actually my first job. Actually, I was in mechanical engineering. There's no relation between the mechanical engineering and BPM. I started as an engineer in, let's say, big company. After a while, I understood, okay, we are doing our job, but it seems we are not achieving our strategic goal and objective. What is wrong here? Yeah, I started to search about it to understand what is the problem, what we should do, just out of my curiosity. Then I just hear, okay, here should be a business process that we should follow the steps in order to achieve a strategic goal. And the business process is like a layer that can create, let's say, link between the operational stage and a strategy that we missed and we are not following. We are like different silos that working together and so on. Then I started to attend some courses and so on. And it's like, I can say even I'm still fall in love with business process. You can ask from my wife. She will say the same thing, because really when I'm working on business process context, I can work morning to night, night to morning, non-stop. Yeah, actually, then I started to work as a, let's say, BPM consultant, because I changed my company after that. And I wrote several books when I was in my, let's say, homeland, Iran. And now it's 2 years that I moved to Netherlands. And here I'm working National Netherlands Group as an international business process improvement. And we are harmonizing and standardizing the processes and so on. And besides that, I'm working on a concept that we can call it BPM AI orchestration, how AI can help business process management life, let's say, more easier, and help the specialists to through the business process automate and so on in an easier mode.
Okay, that's interesting, and we're going to definitely come back to that one a lot. Did I just hear you mention that you already wrote several books? Or did I miss that? I mean, I know that you're writing a book
Actually,
right now.
also
I know that.
yeah, like business. No. Yeah, actually, I wrote a book about business process management roadmap. It is about how to establish business process management by your employees. It's like a guidance, step by step. Okay, now you're in first step. You want to prepare the organization, what we should do, how to convey organization, and so on. Then business process architecture. How do you want to identify, discover business processes? How do you want to model? How to train the employees, and so on. Then I wrote another book. I wrote this book because I actually find gap in my home country. Yeah, just to help people establish business process. Then second one is about the BPM analysis tools and technique. Yeah, and also another book about APQC. What is APQC? How to use APQC? How to establish? What is the advantage? Which organization should focus only on this framework? Do we have any other framework that we should combine, like use hybrid framework for our company and so on? And another one about systemization, like, because we have different generation of BPM. Yeah, the first one is about documentation, how to draw the process, document the process, and we assume if we draw the process, then people will follow. But after that, it's not like this. Then the automation start. The systemization book is about automation, how to automate business process, how to select suitable tools, not best tools for our organization, because always I see organization are looking for best tools, but they should be looking for suitable tools that is fit to them. Yeah, and it was, let's say, the last book that I wrote. And now we have to get that.
That's an impressive list, Ahmad. I know you were writing a book. I didn't know you already. Are they available somewhere? Can we include the links in the show notes to your books so people can look at them and maybe buy them?
Yeah, we can, but the books are in Persian, and I don't know if they can use them.
Oh, they're in Persian. Okay, that probably narrows down the target audience a bit. Russell, how's your Persian reading skills right now?
I need to polish it up a bit.
I would say in my case they're non-existing, but anyway. Okay, so maybe let's focus on the book you're actually writing, then Ahmad. And can you take us can you take me and Russ a little bit along the journey on when you talk about BPM and AI orchestration? What are we talking about? So what do you want to achieve with that?
I always thinking about how efficient we can do something. Let's say establish business process management. And when we look at the history, it started with automation, the documentation, BPM like documentation. Then it was, let's say, automation. And during the automation, we understood, okay, automation can accelerate what we are doing. But what will happen if there's, let's say, process that we are doing is inefficient? Then automation is accelerating inefficiency. So the next generation, it was about the improvement, process mining, process intelligence. Process mining, process intelligence, and so on help us to have insight based on the data, understand the reality, which is different patient and what we assume. Those are good, but we need something more than this, to help us to understand action, help us to actually make some decision, and also like coordinate between different processes that we are doing. And we can call it this layer like orchestration. And now if we look at the business process management life cycle, how we are actually designing business process or modeling business process by BPM. The traditional is interview or some company with process mining, just to draw the business processes. Can we do it in a more efficient way? Okay, now imagine you have some AI that you, as a subject matter expert, can just talk with this AI, and as a result, you will receive a BPM diagram that is adjustable, of course, or sometimes you don't know what you want to draw. You need to have some practice. Just you can say to this AI, please draw the P2P process for me. And this AI use case, let's say, look for all information and provide you one BPM for P2P. This is the first step, like process model. If we go to the next step, is, let's say, process analyze. Okay, in process analyze, how now we are doing? Again, we have the quantitative, qualitative analysis, process mining, and so on, which is really good because specifically process intelligence, that is actually, we have some good insight and we can find bottleneck. But at the same time, do we considering, for example, some AI that help us to understand what is next to action that can improve process like 80%? What I'm saying is to have some AI here. So then as input, we can send as this process to this AI. You can upload or by uploading XML or, let's say, process diagram and so on. This AI use case should be able to analyze this process directly without now data and give us, okay, this is your current process. This is the, let's say, to-be process. Then if you compare this as is and to-be, these are gap that you have. You have, let's say, 10 gap here. If you cover these 2 out of 10, then you can improve your process 80%. This is without data. With data, it's like process intelligence, insight, bottleneck, and so on. Then again, moving to next. Now, as I'm experiencing nowadays, and even based on my previous experience, when we are going to automation, you have the business process to be. This is the to-be process. And now you want to automate, digitalize this to-be process. First, you need to have a deep dive to understand in each step which field of forms should be designed to be able to digitalize this process. And once you digitalize this process, you want to expose it to end user after UAT test or whatever. Once you expose to end user, you will understand this is different what actually user expected from you. Why is like this? Because mostly we are skipping UX, UI, analyze and design, or we are not considering as much is needed. Then we are receiving some feedback from user. This button should not be like this. We don't need this field, is extra. I need from field that it's not here. We need to have to see this information in our screen and so on. Then, okay, let's have a AI use case. We have some AI that can provide some mock-up for us, but more than this, to provide just to actually upload to be processed to is AI use case, and as a result, provide us, for example, in this step is purchasing request. Okay, these are the fields that you should consider, yeah, and this information should be appear in the screen like this. And then automate the process. And after that is to have some kind of dashboard, not the, let's say, regular dashboard that we have, dashboard for process owner, for process manager with different criteria should be visible. Oh, okay. Now we are covering like, I don't know, 5 AI use cases in BPM lifecycle. How do we want to connect those all together? Then we need to have one layer top of all these AI use cases that we can call it orchestration to manage all of this information, all of these use cases. You need just to send whatever you want, this as is. Then this orchestration, no, if it is as is, we should go to the second AI. Yeah? If it is just voice, okay, we need to go to the first AI to design the process. If it is the to-be process, we need to go to the UX designer, for example. Yeah, you like orchestration and to manage all of these. And when now we want to establish business process management, the life should be much more easier than today because we expect most of things happen by AI use case and orchestration. And of course, humans should be in the loop to confirm different steps or approve or adjust sometimes and so on. But imagine the differences between when we are doing with group of the people or a few of people that they are, let's say, like they don't know how to use this AI use case to digitalize the process, to design the process, to analyze the process, and so on. And which is that I'm calling like orchestration, BPM AI orchestration.
Okay, just make sure that I understand properly, and looking to your response and insights, Russell, as well, because I heard a couple of things. I mean, Russell, I heard you say you're involved in a couple of ERP migration projects right now, and I heard Ahmad say there might be options to leverage AI to say I have a as is and a to be, and then in my head I hear I have a vendor's best practice process and the one that we have already documented. Can you find me the gaps? Right? I mean, we're talking about AI orchestration for the purpose of business process management, not for the purpose of the actual business process execution side. Is that correct, Ahmad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Russell, any you always have thoughts, so share some.
Yes, well, I mean, as I said, I'm mainly involved in larger implementations of around typically also SAP. And I think principally what you're saying, Ahmed, is also what the vision of SAP now is to combine the, let's say, the knowledge they have of the existing processes via process intelligence with what this solution provides from a best practice perspective in the way they've documented their scope items, and they've set a baseline for even their Joule system to actually crawl through the current customization settings, the data, the master data structures, the events that are happening along the executed processes, and guide then along the, let's say, implementation or the cycle of continuously also improving, and your company are providing benchmarks over insights and plug and gain approaches. So this vision is something in a context of this of SAP I see is already been heavily worked on. Heavily worked on means there are roadmaps, there's marketing, and there are pilots or use cases where the results are astonishing. What I do think it still stays is though we are talking about the overarching cycle, and we are talking about a complexity where there are always gaps in between the reality and what you have on information. This can be a gap on the data and the events that you are logging. This can be on data systems and documents that are outside of the system and not directly in reach. And also around standard documentation, around the completeness and the granularity of the documentation of these systems, because ultimately the AI agents that you will be putting, and what I see, and Ahmed, I do agree, that you want to look at your process of process management, and for each stage that you used to do, you're not changing it fundamentally. You're just rethinking, how can I do this better, faster, more efficient with the help of an AI agent? And that's where we'll talk about the orchestration layer later on, because I think that's in the complete life cycle, just saying, yeah, let's put an orchestrator on top. I think that's a bit of a challenge currently. I think now the phase we are in is actually looking which of these stages along the life cycle of, for example, an SAP Activate approach or a normal process excellence approach, where do you have these steps, and which agents do you want to deploy? And that's the stage where you need to train them and give them a lot of context to stop them from hallucinating. Yeah, and I think that's the phase. So I think the vision is already understood, and some big ERP providers are trying, also Salesforce and ServiceNow, they're trying to really dig into this aspect of providing like the full support over the life cycle. But I think the challenge is to fine tune the agents to really deliver value, and keep the people, the human in the loop, and not lose trust because the expectations are too high that they're gonna just work out of the box. So especially around, as I said, process design. That article I brought out on the multi-debate designer, balancing innovation versus standards versus compliance requirements, and getting, let's say, fine-tuning even this little task to say, you said it, Ahmed, you said, draw me a purchase requisition process. Yeah, exactly. Now, even here, in this, what sounds like a simple prompt, it's much more than that in real life and also for AI. And that's where, you have the aspect of how far can you use AI? How far can you use SAP best practices? How far do you have to consider compliance aspects in the design of this process? This all comes together. So just this one single point that you pulled out on a big lot of other tasks, already that is a complex task to be implemented with a multi-agent approach, because one system prompt will not provide you it'll provide you a very generic, standardized PR process where you say, why do I even need it? I can just as well just take a standard process. I could Google a PR process, or I could take the SAP best practice process. But that's not going to really fulfill your detailed requirements. So giving context and working on that, I think it's a great vision. I think that is the future. But we are far away from it, and working on the details of the agents is going to bring its own, questions that are going to arise. But beyond that, I do believe that is one aspect that will be impacting the process, the BPM community a lot in the future. Or is it they're already on the journey? Yeah.
Cool. But just Ahmad, you seem to be in a rather loud environment, so I keep muting you a little bit when you don't speak, so that you just know that. But thanks, Russell. I think you're right. And the so my question, Ahmad, to you would be, how do you envision this practically to work out? So you have a vision. How do you want to see this be a reality in the near future?
You know, honestly, I do agree with the Russell that is saying the requirement and detail is, let's say, is complicated, and we are far away from that. But it's future of BPM. I believe it's future of BPM, and I know that, for example, SAP or some of other, let's say, big vendors are working on it just to provide AI to cover different steps of the BPM, the BPM lifecycle. And which I didn't see yet is like this orchestration that we can call it maybe even mastermind. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, mastermind. And it's something that I never seen because I had a lot of discussion with different companies. I talked already, I think, with you, with some guys with SAP and other vendors, and they never mentioned about this mastermind, but they said that they are working on, for example, this converting text or voice to the BPM or providing some next action as based on the best practice and so on. But in practical, I think these are the steps or these are the journey that will actually lead to paradigm shift in BPM. Yeah, it's like new generation of BPM. And first is to maybe cover by different AI use cases that are not totally linked or connected to each other. Just make more efficient different phase of BPM. And after that is to create this layer orchestration or mastermind, whatever we want to call it, mastermind. And now after that, I think what we expect to see is to have a one, I don't know, call it platform tools or something like that, that is cross system. Yeah. Not limited to, for example, Ceylon is not limited to SAP. Yeah. It should be cross system, should be able to connect to whatever system that your organization already provided, then be able to help you to manage BPM lifecycle in your organization. And of course, I see maybe it's like more for actually in the first, let's say, side, yeah, for consultant company, because they are more involved than other company, to go to the different company, design the process, to be processed, documenting, I don't know, this kind of things. Maybe these are the first, let's say, line of company that is start to try and use this BPM orchestration. But what I want to mention here is we should not just consider BPM AI orchestration just as a platform or as a tool, because I believe it will be like new discipline of BPM. Yeah, BPM is a discipline, it's not tools itself, it's not technique, it's discipline that we want to establish during this life cycle as BPM. We are using some technique and tools. And the next paradigm shift, that is BPM AI orchestration, again, should be a discipline. And of course, we should expect to have some, let's say, tools or platform to help us to establish BPM AI orchestration in our company.
Yeah. So what we're challenging here is I think, and this is something where I'm looking at currently now as well, is I think generally there is a large necessity on introducing BPM principles for larger transitions. I think this has been around for decades, but there seems to be various factors that are now playing a role that this has been taken more seriously. And maybe it's the speed, maybe it's the compliance, maybe there's it's vendors pushing for this approach because they see also that this can help guide and make the implementations more successful. So then the software itself isn't questioned because the implementations fail. But nevertheless, so what I see as a challenge is that, so you're saying let's just use AI tools to do this, but the teams haven't let's say haven't really understood and from you said discipline, yeah, from an understanding, they haven't really got process, let's say, driven approaches in their blood, yeah, in their DNA yet. So what I see it challenging now is that on the one hand, they have to understand that even with or without AI, there are certain principles you need to stick to for this to work, the process-driven approach. And one of the fundamental things about it, that's why coming back to one of the things you said right at the beginning, is say, yeah, you need to document your process, your as is, and your to be. And without AI, you needed to do that as well. We said, what are we doing now? Or what do we want to do in the future? Let's think about how to get from A to B. Now, it sounds as trivial as it sounds. How many of us, how many projects have you been where you said you didn't even manage to do that, or you did as is, or you did to be and didn't think about where you're coming from? One or the other wasn't really missing, and the plan wasn't consecutively kept in assure. I'm not talking about a 2-man team. I'm talking about a 100-man plus team that needs to do that really thoroughly down to the details. So, and for the humans, it's been completely too much, but also AI will fail if it doesn't have a clear context. Talking about SAP with intelligence and this, and there will be redundant information, there will be inconsistencies in this information. So it has to learn to deal with it. So the challenge is that everyone wants to do AI, everyone wants to implement AI, but they first have to say, so what do I want to teach him? Do I want to use AI to write a poem? Then I have to be, to a certain extent, I need to be a poet to be able to tell him, oh, that's a nice rhyme. He said, yeah, that's for nurseries, but it's not really going to get this Pulitzer, is it? And for process management and transformation, you need the same. So I really hope that this isn't taken as something like a shortcut where the actual key fundamentals of process management are neglected because AI is going to do it. Wow, that's not going to work. It's like getting tools, also something you mentioned at the beginning. Yeah, let's just get the tool in. That'll solve my problem. No, it will not. Or maybe it will, and then you're out of a job. Yeah, but if you want to be the human in loop, if you want to be the ultimate orchestrator, the orchestrator of orchestrators as the human on top of it, and you want to work with this in a manner that it really then creates the outcome that you foresee for your management, you're going to have the key understanding of the principles. And that's where I think people should not forget that there is still a lot of, let's say, fundamental approaches, knowledge about mechanical engineering that is the fundament of AI. You cannot just take AI and an LLM and expect him to create a car that just runs out of the factory. And this is something I think we need to focus on more. What is really essential? What is really important? And how do I create this and feed an AI with it to really then help me do a real successful implementation? And down to the, Ahmed, you said one aspect about user interface. I said, wow, that's something I'm completely lost because I'm really bad in, if I create a user interface, everybody just starts running away. But I like it. But again, here, if you want to get an AI down on that level to help a good UA design, you need good UA design guidelines. Yeah, there's some out there, but yeah, I didn't understand them. Maybe AI understands them, but and so for each of these stages, we will have to go and say what is now the fundamentally best process architecture that you want to use. Because APQC, nice example. What do you use it for? In which context does it make sense? In which doesn't it make sense? Because it's not going to help you get your end-to-end scenarios ready. So the confusion around actually having to, you need somebody to say down, so for this phase, we're going to use this kind of a process architecture. And there's 5 others out there, LLM, but we're going to ignore them because getting them mixed up is the worst thing that can happen. We need to stick to one, and we're going to stick to one for this good reason. That, like just starting at the beginning there, very high level architecture, process architecture. Let's go right down to the bitty of which design guide are we going to use for the user interface, not use 5 and mix them up and get all confused. Which one are we going to like? And this is something that is fundamentally, I think, really interesting as well. And if we do it in a structured manner, I think it could be really compelling because AI can help you apply certain principles consequently and fully. And then this could be that's when then you will gain real value. If all the team just starts randomly creating their agents, I think you're going to have the same chaos as before. And that's what I think one of the fundamental things about BPM is agreeing and committing to a certain way of working along the phases of a transformation and always coming back to the same fundamentals. If we use APQC, okay, we use APQC. But it'll have this and this traits. But it cannot be that I use this architecture and somebody else documents according to a structure and hierarchy coming from APQC. And then any AI will also be going, I'm confused. Yeah. And that's one of the things I think is going to be, should not be mixed up that we have a shortcut with AI. I think we have to rethink and be much more thorough in defining this to guide AI to do a good job on each of these steps. And that's a big task.
That's a long question. Ahmad, do you have any thoughts on that?
Honestly, I understand, but yeah, the first thing that, let's say, foundation for all of these or these AI use cases is data. How do you want to train each of these AI use cases? And then how do you want to involve human? In which step, how, and when? And what is, let's say, the limitation of AI? When we should trust AI? When we should, let's say we need confirmation from human and so on. But the first thing is, data. How we want to provide suitable data in order to train AI, this AI. Then after that, be trustable for us. Then it's about like understanding. How do you want to be sure that AI is understanding what you expect from that? I don't know, because I usually for some topic trying to use ChatGPT. Sometimes it's giving a right answer, and sometimes it's like crazy. What is saying you? What's right to me? This is totally right. Then it's about understanding. Yeah. For example, let's take the first example of AI. This let's say converter between the voice to the BPM. Imagine now I'm a subject matter expert. I'm talking to this AI, how AI should understand the rules, responsibility, let's say conditions, and so on. Huh? And after that is about intelligence and, let's say, decision-making layer for AI. Because after that, we should expect AI to provide output for us. Then for some of these AI use cases, now we have some data that we can help, like this voice-to-BPM or for the best practice. But then we are talking about user interface, UX, UI. I'm just sharing my idea. I think now we are not that much mature to create, at least now, to create 100%, let's say, good AI for this topic. Maybe it takes more time. But what is now really important is that we are going through that. We are going through the new generation of BPM. Then we should be prepared for that. And also, we should do our best to actually help this transition be more smooth, because it's like transition from one paradigm shift to another paradigm shift that will affect different aspects of this life cycle.
Okay, and it just as we're getting towards the end, we don't want to spoil too much of the book that you're writing, Ahmad, because I know that you're talking a lot about this particular topic. You're very vocal about it on LinkedIn as well. So we want to keep a little bit of the secret sauce secret until you actually finish your book, obviously. We don't want to spill it. But I mean, in that, if I listen to what the both of you were talking about a lot in this episode, is where you basically say the context is really important, and the context is your data set that you use to train your AI agent on. It can also be the content of the business processes that you've documented in your organization in order for the enterprise AI to understand what are my boundaries to stay within, and how can I leverage that to automate or to orchestrate certain things. And of course, I'm working on that topic on a daily basis, but much more from how can we help other customers to become more, let's say, mature on AI. The interesting angle, I think, Ahmad, from your point of view, is how can we actually use this whole AI and orchestration thing to make the BPM field much more effective? Because that is where a lot of the times I find my clients struggle with, is that there is still a very high amount of manual labor. And I'll just a very quick example before I give you a last chance to respond to that is, if you have, for instance, an AI feature to analyze a process. So I put in the process a relatively simple high-level procure-to-pay process. And I asked the BPM platform that I usually work with, analyze this process for me, please. And it comes up with things like, you might want to consider to put a three-way match activity between these two existing activities. And I go like, well, that's interesting, because I haven't told you how we usually do procurement. You have that information from somewhere that recognizes a procure-to-pay process, that you recognize that there is a good receipt and an invoice processing, and that usually, as part of that invoice checking, you do a three-way match. So that's interesting to see where does the AI get that sort of information from? So obviously internet, but then again, you don't want to train an AI on everything that's on internet, because it will be an incredibly biased, racist AI, I'm afraid. And that's what you don't want in BPM. So anyway, enough from my side for now. Last remark, last suggestion, last thing. Ahmad, what do we need to look out for in the next coming couple of months on this front?
I didn't say next couple of months, maybe a bit longer. But what I expect to see in BPM, in BPM context, first thing that I really would love to see is this, like, this BPM AI orchestration platform, maybe, just to make life easier for many process specialists. As we are seeing that a lot of process specialists are struggling to make some things happen. And also, as you mentioned, now we are writing a book. And I think in this book, not directly BPM AI orchestration, but we were talking about, don't reveal what we want to talk about. We want just, this is a practical book to help process enthusiasts to establish process intelligence in organization, like a guidance step by step.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks very much, Ahmad, and we're very much looking forward to when you finalize the book. I'm really honored to be able to help you with that by simply reading it and giving you my perspective. But you're doing all the hard work, so all good for that. Russell, last chance to make a remark or to comment anything for today.
Oh, without going down a rabbit hole, but I actually, Ahmed, I'm curious. So I understood it. You were doing, let's say, especially because you were saying, talking about your books in Persian, you were doing process management in the Iran, as I understood it, in around the field of electrical and mechanical engineering. So, and there was also the aspect of tools. And I recall a long time ago, as I was working in the Middle East, that we had some questions about, providing the tools, the BPM tools to the Iran. And some of them, it was always complicated because of the embargo list and stuff like this. So what is your take on the, say, how on what level of maturity are the companies talking about process management? Is it something you could say it's globally, it's something that is really well understood because, the people are educated and they know engineering, and also process management is something that is very well known as a principle? Or is it something that is more like a, a, a Western fashion or anything like this, where it says, yeah, but there would you think of differently about it? I mean, you're more mathematically about it, more digital about it, because, you have a different heritage and culture there. What is your take on process management as something that is lived across the world, specifically with your background of seeing maybe some very different cultural aspects and also access to tools and literature in this space, which you've also been filling with your books? Well, what's your take on that?
Yeah, just longest story short, Iran always got in a rush because let's say that senior manager is like, okay, if you start now establishing business process management by aiming digitalize the process, after 2-3 months, they must have see the result, a huge result. They are not, let's say, enough patient. But
Okay.
then, yeah, but what we are doing is just to first to train senior manager what is exactly this discipline and concept, what they should expect when. Then life is easier, Then our contract mostly is 1-2 years, not 2-3 months. Yeah, which is the huge difference between, let's say, Iran and, let's say, now Europe that I'm seeing. Yeah, because here
I think we're getting there. I think we're getting closer there. I think
we are getting closer.
Yeah. With people are also impatient on process management. Yeah, I think there's the quick results you have to deliver. Let's do some trainings. Let's get people on.
I think this is quite common project management practice, where you need to do quick wins and then the long term success. But in that, what surprises me, Ahmad, is that in that aspect, the Iranians are not that different from the Americans, because they all have a quite short-term focus. And Europe has a little bit of a more long-term focus when it comes to BPM, right? I'm just talking about BPM. So that's interesting. I really got to wrap it up. I always hate to do that, but I do need to wrap it up, guys. So it was wonderful, Ahmad, that you could join us and that you could talk about the wonderful things you've done and you are doing at the moment. And so we're really looking forward to you finishing up the book, and we can then help you distribute that through our audience. So at least you can sell 2 copies for our 3 listeners that we typically have. Well, it's a little bit more by now, but still. Just as a reminder for the audience, check the show notes, pick up the discount code for the All About Process Management conference coming up in Stuttgart later this year. And then, Ahmad, thank you very much. Russell, as always, thank you very much. And to my audience, we say enjoy the weekend and enjoy this episode. Cheers now. See you next time.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.